Hello, welcome to Central University. This is Core 52. We are in chapter 14. It's a chapter entitled Wisdom. And the key verse for this chapter is Psalms 1:7, which says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction." Most of us have heard in our lifetime the idea that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And sometimes it can be misunderstood, and yet there's also some ways that we can misunderstand it both directions. And I think it's important. There's some really good stuff in this chapter to help us understand where wisdom begins and what it really means. There's a quote on page 94 where Mark Moore says, "Wisdom in the Bible is the ability to practically live out God's truth in a way that brings health to you, your family, and your community. It's the skill that a builder needs to construct a house, a general needs to win a war, and a father needs to raise his children." And I think the key that he wants to draw out here is that wisdom is very practical. It's very everyday. As he says here, biblical wisdom always manifests itself in action. And so several of these paragraphs I found in my book that I marked this chapter all up because there were so many good things. One of the things that he focused on was that wisdom is a gift of the Spirit himself. Wisdom comes from God. He used the example of Solomon who prayed and asked for wisdom. And as a result, he was given tremendous wisdom. When he asked for wisdom, God gave himself in the abiding presence of the Spirit to help Solomon lead on God's behalf. So wisdom comes from God. It's not something that we just gain ourselves or earn ourselves, but it's something that literally God can give to us and we can ask for it. And the book of James says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, ask for it, and God will generously give it to you." And then there's some talk in the chapter about the whole idea of the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so we tend to think about, is God want me to be absolutely afraid of him? Does he want me to be shaking in my boots? Is that the beginning of wisdom that's being talked about here? And not really. As a matter of fact, I love the fact that he drew out that the word fear and love are used together in many cases. He says you can fear someone out of respect for his power without cringing before him because of his capacity for wrath. And then he adds this, yet it requires a relationship. And I think that is so key. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We need to be in awe of God. We need to understand how powerful God is, but that does not mean that God wants us to stay in a state of being petrified of him, because we have a relationship with God. And so because of that relationship, the fear of the Lord can become wisdom for us. It does not have to be this hindering, immobilizing fear. The crucial question is not whether fear and other emotions can hold hands. The crucial question is, what should I do when I fear someone? The answer is easy. I obey that person. He quotes Deuteronomy 10 in here when he says, "Now Israel, what does the Lord your God require of you but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all of his ways, to love him, to serve the Lord your God with all of your heart and with all of your soul." If you both fear and love someone, then honoring that person in obedience is your instinctive response. So, as you think about fearing the Lord, I think those are important things to think about. We need to get back to some good, healthy fear and respect of who God is. And then in that relationship with Him, we experience love and we gain wisdom. And I like this little statement he makes on the top of page 97 when he says this: the fear of God is not just what we do, it defines who we are. It defines who we are. You know, we use that phrase. It's probably not used as much today as it used to be used when you would say somebody was God-fearing. But man, what a great phrase, God-fearing. God-fearing speaks to the idea that it's a definition, if you will, of something identity-wise in who we are. That we are God-fearing, that we look to God for direction, that we obey God, that we respect Him, we love Him, we fear Him, we're in relationship with Him, and we obey Him. So the fear of God is not just what we do, it defines who we are. So let me wrap up with a couple things today from this chapter. I love the key points at the end of each chapter. They really help summarize. First of all, wisdom is the practical ability to succeed at life. Has to do with nuts and bolts, everyday wisdom. The fear of the Lord is like respect for fathers. It is not antithetical to love. Okay, so the fear of the Lord and experiencing the love of the Lord are not antithetical. And third, fear of the Lord is demonstrated by obedience to His commands. When you say someone is God-fearing, when we talk about being God-fearing, what we're saying is we look to God for direction, we listen to Him, and we obey Him. Hope you enjoyed this chapter on wisdom.